cooking from scratch can be overwhelming, especially when you're a beginner. When we first started living off the land, the biggest learning curve for me was knowing how to cook up all the food we grew and preserved. I had to learn how to cook up all the different cuts of grass-fed meat and also how to use all the parts of an animal. I had to learn how to use root veggies as the base for almost every meal and also how to get creative with the limited varieties of fruits and veggies that we could grow. Over time, I've learned how to have a plan and how to be prepared so that I don't revert back to convenience food when I'm in a hurry or feel like I have to be thinking about food every second of the day. We got a few inches of snow this week, the temps have dropped into the single digits, and all of our outdoor projects are completely on hold for the time being. So today we're gonna just stay inside and show you what a normal day of eating looks like for us. The majority of the food we eat was raised on our pastures and grown in our gardens, and I can't wait to share with you all of my best tips and tricks for eating wholesome food and staying sane all at the same time.
Either our chickens think it's spring or they're just really enjoying their new chicken coop because they are laying tons of eggs, which is not exactly normal for the winter time. So I don't know what's up, but I'm very thankful for it with all that's going on with the bird flu and people needing to spend tons of money on eggs. We've got more than we know what to do with right now. But Michelle is going to be making some stuff throughout today that's going to be using a lot of eggs. We're on our last gallon of milk that we froze from Maddie. We're not able to get milk from Maddie right now because she's dried off, so I'm not sure what we're gonna do next. I hate that grocery store milk. I get up before everybody else, and I've been starting most of my days out with a protein shake. Since I've been working out, it just works a lot better to get a lot of protein in the morning for me. Starting out with 3 raw eggs. Sometimes I will make it smaller depending on how many calories I want to get in. And I don't do this every morning. Sometimes I feel like having burger and eggs, and that's a really good source of protein too. But this is just a really quick and easy way for me to do it if I'm trying to get out to the office quickly or something. The cool thing about this is it packs a lot of protein, it's filling, and there's no added sugar. It gets its sweetness from the element that's in there and the banana. I also realized that there's not just a lot of homestead food that's going in here. We've got our milk and we've got the eggs, but most of the food we're gonna make today comes right here from our homestead.
I'm starting out my day today by baking some bread or mixing some bread. I have a very low maintenance sourdough routine. I'm not one of those people who has their starter on the counter all day, every day. I just don't use it that much. What I like to do is just get this big container and I mix up a big batch of sourdough starter the evening before, and then it rises overnight, and then in the morning I mix a batch of bread, and I like to also make enough to make some pancakes or waffles. So I kind of do like a whole bunch of sourdough in one day, and then I just put a tiny little bit of the remaining sourdough into my refrigerator, and then when I want to have another baking day, I feed that again. So I only have like a tiny bit of sourdough starter in my fridge all the time. I like to start anything sourdough first thing in the morning because then I can bake it by evening. So this bread will have risen twice and be ready to bake by around 6 or 7 o'clock tonight. I like to do 100% whole wheat bread. And one of the keys to this is, first of all, having really nice fine flour. I like the flour from Azure Standard, the unifying bread flour. You want this to knead and knead and knead and knead until it's really, really stretchy. And also, you don't want your dough to be stiff. You want it to be nice and soft, and you'll get a feel for it as you do it. You can't always put the same amount of flour in each time. I'm gonna put back a tiny bit of this sourdough starter into my jar. Just a couple tablespoons is fine. Stick this back in the fridge, and the rest of this I'm going to make into pancakes. If people try to tell you that sourdough is hard, don't believe them. It does not have to be hard. When I feed my starter, I don't measure at all. I just make it the right consistency, and it all works out fine. And these sourdough pancakes are the easiest thing ever. I use the recipe from Farmhouse on Boone.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side, our fears are done. All the good times just begun. We know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life. Call us crazy.
See how stretchy this dough is? It's a little bit sticky, but yet it's dense and it's very stretchy.
Is bright. You and I, we got it. We don't need no more. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm.
Our very own maple syrup. It's been cold, so the sap hasn't been running much. It's supposed to warm up like next week, so maybe we'll get some more. That would be a lot of fun. We've already had that much.
Oh my word.
I had my protein shake this morning, and I don't usually eat more food after that, but these pancakes look and smell really good, so I think I'm gonna have at least half a pancake. When you all see this video, we will be back from our vacation in Arizona, and I'm really ready for it. It is so cold, and I feel so white and pasty, and the weather in Arizona is supposed to be really, really nice while we're there.
I can't eat just pancakes or I don't feel good, so I have 2 eggs and a hamburger and half of a pancake. I was gonna make my kids eat some eggs with their pancakes for some protein, but in the hustle and bustle of filming, I forgot, so they think they're lucky this morning.
I got a text alert on my phone that said our Thrive box arrived, so let's bring it inside and see what we got. And thank you, Thrive, for sponsoring this video. I ordered this box, and there's some fun stuff in here because I was getting some snacks for our upcoming trip, so we wouldn't have to buy expensive, junky, sugar-laden snacks from the airport. Thrive Market is an online membership-based grocery store, and their mission is to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. And I think they're doing a good job at it. So let's first look at some of the snacks that I got. Got some Chomps beef sticks. Got the taco seasoned ones. We haven't had these yet, but I thought it sounded good. Obviously these won't be going on the airplane with us, but we gotta have some Olippops here at home. These medjool dates from Thrive Market are so good. They're nice and soft and sweet. It's a really good snack to have that doesn't have any added sugar in it. We've never gotten these before, but I have picked one of these up at a gas station. They have really good ingredients in them, and they're really tasty. Obviously, gotta have more collagen. Got some 7th generation dish soap. Dish soap, organic cacao powder. I got this to go in my smoothies in the morning. This should have more nutrients in it than your cocoa powder that's more stripped down. Marshmallows. These are still sugar, but they are better ingredients than your other conventional ones. With the new grill I've got out back, something we did the last time I did something on there, after we were all done making the steak, took some sticks, roasted some marshmallows out there. It's really good. More avocado oil. This is boring stuff. This is my favorite toothpaste. It is got some whitening properties to it because of the charcoal that's in it, and it makes you look really strange when you're brushing your teeth because it's black. So you got this black stuff dripping out of your mouth, but it's really good stuff. Most of the food that our family eats is stuff that we grow here on our homestead. So there's not just a lot of basics that we buy from Thrive Market, but they have all that kind of stuff. And what we really love Thrive for is that we can find a lot of healthy swaps for things that we can't find in our local grocery store or are way more expensive in our grocery store. If you want to try Thrive for yourself, you can use the link in our description, thrivemarket.com/morethanfarmers, and you'll get 30% off your first order plus a free gift worth up to $60.
Our chickens seem to think it's spring. They're just like laying so many eggs that we can't use them all. And a lot of them are dirty because it's like wet and snowy and muddy and kind of gross outside, honestly. So I'm gonna wash up a whole bunch of these and I'm gonna hard boil them and make deviled eggs. That is one of the only ways that our kids will actually eat eggs voluntarily. So I like to steam my fresh eggs because if you don't, the shell can tend to come off very, very hard. Some people do eggs in the Instant Pot, and that can also work. I don't have a rack for my Instant Pot, so I just steam them on the stove. When you're hard boiling your eggs, always use the oldest eggs because those are the ones that are gonna shell the easiest. It's so funny because every single time that I wash eggs, I have people comment and tell me that I am making the eggs unhealthy. Washing eggs does not make them unhealthy. There's nothing inherently unhealthy about washing an egg. After you've washed the egg, you're washing off the bloom. And so that means that they're not gonna last at room temp anymore. And like things could possibly, like eggs breathe. And so things could possibly get into your egg, but you're not changing the health of the egg by washing them and putting them in your refrigerator. And I am just washing these before I hard boil them because I think it's disgusting not to. That one's cracked. Back when we were selling eggs to a restaurant, I would wash and package 500 eggs a week by hand. So this is like very nostalgic for me. I was really fast at it. I would put on like a microfiber glove and then I would just take the egg and go like this and I was done. I could do like a couple hundred eggs in like 20 minutes. It's pretty insane. You can load this steamer basket as full as you want. When you hard boil eggs normally, you hard boil them for 10 minutes after your pot starts boiling. When you're steaming eggs, you want to start your timer once this part is bubbling and boiling. Once there's steam coming out, you set your timer for 12 minutes because it doesn't get quite as hot as it would if your eggs are actually down in the water. So 12 minutes instead of 10. We're going on vacation soon and we've all been trying to stay healthy. We've been staying very healthy this winter. But just for an extra layer of protection, I decided I'm going to make some elderberry syrup that has been sitting in my cupboard for a while, just wanting to be made up. This is from Purely Parsons. I cooked this up the other day, but I didn't add the honey into it. It asked for like, I don't know, half a cup of honey, and then you take it like a medicine, like kind of like a cough syrup. But my problem is that my kids don't like it. And especially my 4-year-old, it can stain your clothes. Like if I try to give it to them in a teaspoon, it'll stain their clothes, especially if they're annoyed and not wanting to take it. So I have been making these into Jell-O and the kids love it. They actually ate an entire pan in one day. So I decided I'm just going to quickly make up another batch of Jell-O. It does not take much time. The recipe that I use for this Jell-O, some people call it gummies. I'm not sure where the whole gummy thing comes in. I think it's just Jell-O. My recipe is 3 cups of liquid of any kind and then 2 tablespoons of a sweetener. I like to use honey. And then a little bit of vanilla if you want to, and then 3 tablespoons of gelatin per 3 cups of liquid. So I'm gonna see if I have enough for a double batch, and if I don't, I'll just do a single. I think that orange juice and apple juice go really well with the elderberry. This elderberry has some like cinnamon and I think cloves and stuff in it, so you kind of wanna choose flavors that match. I like to just heat up half the liquid with the gelatin. You can just heat all of it, but it cools so much faster if you only do half. And all that you really need to do is make so that the gelatin is heated and very well combined into your liquid. I like to go heaping with my gelatin. Gelatin is very, very good for your gut, high in amino acids. You want to stir your gelatin into the cold liquid and then turn on your burner. You don't want to boil this, you just want to bring it almost to boiling. I realized I have enough juice for another batch, so I'm just going to make another batch right away. While I finish making these deviled eggs and finish this Jell-O, Cody is going to start homeschool with the kiddos. We're going to tag team today so that we can get everything done. I'm just gonna quick whip up some homemade mayo for the deviled egg filling. This recipe is super simple. It's just 1 egg, 2 teaspoons of vinegar, a cup of oil, and a teaspoon of salt. You just wanna take your stick blender and put it all the way to the bottom and start it, and then slowly you move to the surface and you have an easy, beautiful mayonnaise. See how beautifully those shells come off? And these are fresh eggs. I used to struggle and fight with hard-boiled fresh eggs. Usually the eggs from our chickens during the winter time aren't nearly as dark yellow, but they have been jumping the fence and foraging all day. And so their eggs are looking really nice still. These eggs are sort of time consuming, but it is one way that my kids will cheer when they see eggs. Very important tip. When you're making the filling for your deviled eggs, you always mix the yolks dry. You don't add your mayonnaise until they're completely mixed up. Otherwise, it will be lumpy, just like mashed potatoes. You never, ever add in the milk and cream before you blend them. I do not actually have a recipe for deviled eggs. I just wing it, make sure it's the right taste and consistency. Usually I would add mustard, but we are out of mustard. I can't believe we're out of mustard. I'll just add a tiny bit of vinegar for that tart flavor that the mustard would add. I always add just a touch of sweet. Gonna add some salt, a little bit of pepper and smoked paprika, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of parsley, from the garden, of course. Homeschool is done. I have a couple food snack things made. So now it's time for lunch. Lunch is one of those meals that I do not think about at all. I have a system in place that we have leftovers at lunch from the evening before. So I always make an extra big dinner the evening before, and then I just heat up those leftovers around 12:30 or so. And we just have a very quick lunch, but it's still wholesome and hearty because it's leftovers from the evening before. So for those of you who don't like leftovers, you wouldn't do very well in my house. We had zuppa toscana last night, so I am just gonna turn this on low and put the lid on and let this slowly heat up. Cooking from scratch can be really overwhelming, especially if you're a beginner. And also if it's not something that is your first love, not something you enjoy that much, which is the case for me. I don't hate cooking like I used to, but I don't enjoy it. And if there's any job that's gonna make me grumpy, it's probably gonna be cooking. So for me, what works the absolute best of anything I've tried is to come up with 5 simple dinners on Monday. So this week I had zuppa toscana, I had loaded sweet potatoes, I had steak and fries, bunch of different meals like that, and I just go down to the root cellar and I bring up all the veggies and the meat for those meals. I don't actually like prepare those meals. I will just peel potatoes and cut them into fries. Basically, I just chop my veggies and then let my meat thaw in the fridge. That way there's like absolutely zero planning really that goes into those meals. I don't have to like think about it. I don't have to go through that decision fatigue of like, what are we having for dinner today? What are we having for lunch today? It's all just taken care of already. So pretty much at all times, I just have bags of veggies in my fridge. So these are for baked potatoes one evening. These are for loaded sweet potatoes another evening. And then these are for tonight. These are going to be sweet potato fries. I also, if my meal needs onions, I will chop my onions, put them in bags, and put them in a glass container so that they don't smell up the entire fridge. And then down here on the bottom, I just throw all of my meat down here. So here I've got a steak I'm gonna make one evening. And then here I have a chicken that I'm actually going to be making tonight. I also will always make like jello or chia pudding or little snacks for the kids. Here I have some granola bar bites. These don't always last us the entire week, but my fridge is stocked and I don't get stressed out when the kids are constantly like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. I also like to bring up like fruit from the freezer, like frozen strawberries, peaches. And then I also like to make up a couple half-gallon jars of bone broth so that I just have it on hand for soups or deglazing pans. This takes me about 2 hours or so on a Monday morning. I never skip it. It's like I will cancel plans to be able to do this because for me, I have work that I have to do on our business, and if I don't have my food all prepared, we end up eating junky. I used to waste a lot of the food that we grew because I didn't have a plan. One critique that we get quite a bit, and I don't care, it doesn't bother me, but one critique that we get is there's no way you can eat all that food. And actually there is, and this is how I do it. We use all of that food because I prep it at the beginning of the week, and so it easily gets used. I'm not gonna be grabbing a bag of noodles or rice or something like that instead of potatoes if I already have them chopped in my fridge waiting to be used for the rest of the week. I used to waste a lot of things like onions and garlic because if I was in a hurry, I would be like, I'll chop an onion tomorrow, I'll just dump onion powder in. And so I didn't get a lot of onions and things like that used up. But with this method, I get all of those healthy veggies into our bodies very, very easily without very much thought at all. I am not a morning person at all. I don't even like to talk for at least an hour or so after I get up in the morning. Exercise, I just almost can't make myself exercise in the morning. But the problem I ran into is that in the afternoon, I wouldn't get it done because I was always just getting done with lunch or needing to think about supper, and I didn't have that time in my afternoon where I could work out for 30 minutes or go on a walk for 30 minutes. But now with all of this meal prep being done, I don't have to think about supper until it's like supper time basically. Like an hour before supper, I can just throw my potatoes in the oven. I don't have to run downstairs and chop anything. I can just throw the food in the oven, and then I will often go on a walk while the food is cooking. Basically that 2 hours of prep on Monday makes so that I can get in my exercise and just be a generally happier person throughout the entire week. Cody can attest to this. He was bugging me for 3 years that I need to meal prep. And I finally was like, just broke down and did it because I was so desperate, and I just will never look back. There's a common misconception floating around that eating healthy is hard. I don't think it has to be. Learning what temp to bake a pan of fries or figuring out how to sear a steak can definitely be a learning curve, but it's not difficult. In my opinion, eating healthy can be as hard or as simple as you make it. I'm not the girl who pores over complicated recipes or makes fancy casseroles. I just cook simple food, mostly meat, veggies, and sourdough bread. If you're overwhelmed by the thought of cooking from scratch, start with a simple cut of meat, learn how to cook it properly, and then add a veggie on the side. If you have some high quality fat and a lot of salt, you can make almost anything taste absolutely delicious. nice now.
What, was it bad before?
No, it's just better. It's around 4:30, and so I am going to quickly mix up a marinade and put it onto this chicken. I guess it's not really very much of a marinade anymore because I'm just gonna stick this chicken straight in the oven. In the summertime, when I have an abundance of cilantro and basil and things like that, I like to put it into a food processor with some olive oil, and then I freeze it in little chunks. Then I can pull them out in the winter and have these fresh tasting meats. So I have cilantro in here, some avocado oil. I'm gonna dump in some coconut aminos. I'm not much of a measuring person. I just dump and pour. Also gonna do some apple cider vinegar, some salt, a little bit of pepper, garlic. Never forget a splash of maple syrup in your marinades. It makes the world of a difference. And then a tiny bit of liquid smoke. This makes the best meats. When I put marinades over my chicken to bake them, I really like to take it and put it right underneath the skin. Just pour it in there. That way the flavor can actually get down into the meat and not just stay on top. This chicken takes around like an hour and a half to 2 hours at 350 to really get nice and tender. So I don't cover it or anything, I just put it in like this, and then it'll be ready in a couple hours. And while this is baking, I'm gonna run out and work out, and then I'll come in an hour, half an hour to an hour, and put in the potato fries. I love this oven. It has a top and a bottom. That way you can bake something on the top at one temp and then bake something in the bottom oven at a different temp. So down here, I'm going to be baking sweet potato fries at a very high temp that I would not want to bake my chicken at, and so I can have them in separate ovens. One of my pet peeves in the health food space right now is all the reels and shorts about how few vitamins and minerals our fruits and veggies have in them compared to years ago, etc., etc., and also all the reels demonizing different food groups. Not that none of it's true, I just don't think it's all that helpful. Eating our modern day fruits and veggies is still gonna be more nutritious than processed foods. Choosing whole foods is always going to be superior. And when I get swept up in all the noise that's going on in today's health food space, it can very quickly make me just want to throw up my hands and not try anymore. Every single food that I put in front of my family has been demonized in some way, and I hate that feeling of second guessing myself whenever I feed my family. All this to say, I think cooking simple whole foods is the safest route to take. We don't shun any of the food groups in this house. If it comes from the land, we believe it's beneficial.
Just as much as these simple homegrown foods are good for us physically, I believe they're also good for us mentally. Wintertime can start to feel long and dreary, but seeing this food that we grew out in our garden this summer on our plate for us to enjoy is a real mental boost. I was starting to get emotional going through the garden footage to use at the beginning of this video. But spring will be here before we know it. I think we'll be starting seeds in our next video. Thanks. Which kind do you guys want?
I want some honey.
Dish soap. Dish soap.
Lice, louse.
Huh? A louse is one lice?
Yeah.
But you just open and there's like a princess. You could do a lavender latte and make everyone laugh. What a white girl you are. Honestly, I don't even know what I've been eating before. What I was eating before was not a date. They're fat and they're soft and juicy and like they taste like a lump of brown sugar.